everybody will be bugging him.
I just think that some of the complaints are ridiculous and that other things are overlooked. And I don't understand what clean their living is. In other respects, everything's overlooked, so I don't know. You want to enter that lion's den? You can do it alone.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the October 9th, 2019 meeting of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board. Welcome to everyone in attendance, and I'd like to have the board members and the ex officio members introduce themselves.
Raymond Casano.
Lena Teixeira.
Thomas Wright.
Paris Morphopoulos.
Venkat Devnani.
Caitlin Jammo.
And Jay Pulvers.
Very good. Okay, we'll move on to item number 2. We're looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the September 4th, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Looking for a motion to approve the September 9th Downtown Development Board meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Good. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Okay, next is citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda. Are there any citizens to be heard? Okay, you please state your name and address and limit your comments.
Need my address? Okay.
Your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. My name is Mark Bunker. I live at 1200 South Missouri Avenue. And at the last meeting, I was speaking about Scientology's negative impact on downtown Clearwater. And while I didn't bring up religious beliefs, Mr. Casano offered the fact that he is a Scientologist and a Christian, and that most Scientologists, he said, are Christians. And I'm not going to challenge Mr. Casano's personal religious beliefs. I mean, anyone is allowed to believe anything that they want. This is a comment you hear frequently, both in person and from people in the media. Scientology, they say, is completely compatible with any other religion. And they say that practically everywhere, except in the paperwork filed with the IRS, where they are trying to receive their tax-exempt status. In there, they state that members are expected to essentially abandon their prior beliefs and practice only Scientology, and that was a key factor toward getting their tax-exempt status. So while it's tempting to say that I don't doubt you, Mr. Casano, when it comes to Scientology, there really is nothing but doubt. Scientology's inability to be truthful is one of the reasons that the group has such a terrible reputation to begin with, and why having Scientologists now in the majority controlling the Downtown Redevelopment Board is so troubling to many. And again, people can believe anything that they want. But how can Scientology be completely compatible with Christianity when L. Ron Hubbard himself said there was no Christ? That some madmen 2,000 years ago stumbled upon some of Hubbard's tech and misinterpreted the man on the cross. The man on the cross, according to Hubbard, is every man. Hubbard also referred to the Church of Satan's founder, Aleister Crowley, as my good friend. And he did that in an audio tape lecture that was given to Scientologists. Now, I know people can pick and choose whatever aspects they want to believe in any religion. I mean, you don't need to believe in talking snakes to be a Christian. You do, however, kind of have to believe in Christ. And again, believe anything you want. But the further you go along in Scientology, the greater the pressure is put on you to stop practicing what Scientology refers to as other practices. Of course, by then, tales of talking snakes have been replaced by Hubbard's hard, cold historical fact that we're all blown up in a volcano 75 million years ago by an evil intergalactic overlord named Xenu. But as I say, I really don't care what Scientology believes. I just wish that Scientology believed in the truth. Thank you. Oh, And if you'd like to apologize for those comments you made to me on Watterson Street, saying that I talked, or that I like to have sex with barnyard animals or maybe little boys, I'll give you a chance to do that at the end of the meeting.
Virtually everything just said is fiction, but we'll leave it for now. Natalie?
I was worried. I was like, I'm gonna go first. Oh no, I'm glad I didn't go first now. But I'm here for Jen Oblinski. I'm not here for Market, unfortunately. Okay, sorry. But do you guys know who Jen Oblinski is? First of all, she's the owner of
Natalie, I think I have to remind you to state your name and address.
Okay,
please.
Natalie Nagengast, 331 Cleveland Street, number 1200. I'm not gonna say the number. Okay, so I live downtown Clearwater. Okay, good. So I'm here for Jen Oblinski. She owns Botanical Day Spa. I came here as a friend, and I'm here to help her with an event, hopefully. And I really wanted to get some of your feedback on what you guys thought about this event, hopefully, so that way I could come back next month and put in a request for funding for her as a possibility. Now, I know that she got to talk to one of you, she got to talk with Paris and get some feedback, so I kind of changed around a few things based off of that feedback. But I just want to take my few minutes just to tell you about Botanical Day Spa in the first place. It's celebrating 25 years in business this December, January. And she is one of the 2 longest running businesses started on Cleveland Street, I think next to Paris. So they started on Cleveland Street, then they moved to Fort Harrison Street, then they grew into their own building, which is just inside of downtown. She renovated an old building, and it's literally right on the busiest quarter of downtown Clearwater. So she wants to put on some sort of an event to celebrate her 25 years. And so she approached me and asked me if I could put something together for her, and we went over lots of different ideas. And so I came up with something called free yoga in the park. And so the idea is to have hundreds of people come out for yoga, as well as having a community wellness market component to the event, so that way we can include a lot of the downtown businesses and celebrate a business that has been around for a long time. So I put this together. I wanted to give it to you. I want to get your feedback and see if you guys had any questions for me. The idea is to have an event that will have yoga for about an hour or so, as well as her speaking for a little while, telling everyone thank you very much, as well as having this wellness market with food trucks after. So they can come and get their hair braided, they can get massages, they can do all kinds of cool things, as well as check out a lot of the downtown area businesses. So right now she's planning on Coachman Park. She'd like to, at least. She has a certain budget, and to be honest, as soon as she sat down with the city of Clearwater, I said, well, what about this cost and that cost and this cost? And it started adding up, and I don't think she realized how expensive it can be to put on an event. Mm-hmm. And so she's asked me to help her with the idea, help her with the day of execution, and I'm kind of squeezing her in between a few things. Thank you. So here's these really quick.
Does anyone have any comments or advice for Natalie?
What's this for you? I printed off 6.
Thanks, Natalie.
I might need you guys to share.
Thank you.
Yes, I hope I didn't give you guys the one that has, you guys can share? Okay, good.
Give it to her. I'll show you.
Okay,
Thank you.
So, okay. So I just wanted to see your feedback, any questions you have.
What's the scale of the event? How many people do you expect to have?
She wants to, I always try to shoot 5,000, but realistically 500 people at least. What I can guarantee her, she asked me, can you do 500? I said, well, I can guarantee with the budget that we had come up with, which is this last page, that budget can reach 500,000 people in the area. And we're going to be partnering with the same company that I partnered with, Pierce Street Market, and try to create a lot of ads, which I've shown a picture of the ads, and I've shown a picture of the information about the Facebook event. Like, we really want to center the ads and everything around downtown Clearwater. So it'll be in the title, it'll be in the ads, it'll be showcased throughout that. So, does that answer that question?
Anyone else have a comment or
I got
question?
another couple more questions.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you give any thought to Station Square Park? Or is that not big enough?
Not big enough. She really wants there to be 500 to 1,000. I mean, her idea was that she went somewhere, possibly, I think in Canada, and there was, maybe it was Vancouver or somewhere, and there was literally thousands of people out on the lawn. So the idea is to have multiple, like someone up on the stage as well as throughout the crowds. And we're gonna try to get some sort of an RSVP perk as well, so we can try to get an estimate of the crowd, so. But this is a very popular type of event, and the other thing is that I think the plan would be is to not do it just once. Try to use this as a test run, and then possibly come back in the future and try to do it more regularly. So you'll see on this report that I put together, there's a whole page of example of successful events on page 4, which I list all of the towns that are surrounding Clearwater that all have a yoga component in their parks. They have a wellness component to their city that they have helped, so, yeah.
Lena?
So, we've discussed it all many times, that when there's an event in Cochin Park, it actually acts as a vacuum, where people actually walk quickly past the downtown and go to Cochin Park. And then you mentioned food trucks, which acts as a deterrent from anyone to then go back up the bluff to
Yeah.
frequent the restaurant. So it's actually, in many ways, competing with already struggling merchants. So, but you
Okay.
did mention you wanted to include us. So I was wondering, what
Yeah.
ideas do you have to include us?
You know, I think that what I wanted to do was something similar to what I tried to accomplish with the market, where we always had Carolyn's Kitchen down there, and it's always an open invitation, but not always utilized. I remember the one time that Tony's Pizza came out, he literally went through boxes as tall as I was. So it's a matter of, are they willing to? It's always going to be open, but we would like people to stick around after. And having some sort of food component always helps with that. So if we can, that'd be awesome. In here, you will also see that there is going to be an invitation to have a tent and continue to put out promo so that they get promo at the tent and want to go up the hill. I don't mind if those types of food trucks are popsicles and a few other things. I don't think that we're trying to feed everybody. I mean, if we're going to be pulling out hopefully thousands to come out, the hope would be to have something that is refreshing for them. So we've even talked about rosé and other things.
So you would consider food trucks that are not in direct competition
Oh, yeah.
with the
for sure.
5 or 6 restaurants we do have?
Oh, absolutely. And I'd love for them to be down there. I mean, there's no reason why we even have to have food trucks. If they're willing to come down and they make sure that they have all of their fire regulations, it's one of the things that Jen asked me lots of questions about, so, yeah.
And what date were we looking at?
You know, it's fluid at this point, but I think at this point, I told her, she's talking about February, I said, listen, it was really cold down there. January is where we're looking at, the 19th of January. We don't want to, usually want to plan your events outside of the Christmas time season. And we wanted to have the Christmas time and holidays over, because that's the most expensive time to have ads. So then the idea is to start after the 1st, and then run our ads for a couple weeks, and we have enough people by the 19th. Because January is actually one of the cheapest times to purchase ads on Facebook. So.
As I recall, your strength is social media, right?
My strength, yes, is social media. Lots of ads and social media. It's one of the reasons why most of my events I put on are a lot bigger, but there's sometimes, I even told her, April, the problem with April is you get the gridlock traffic, and then, and then March is sometimes you don't really know what's gonna happen in March, and December has too much going on, so. Any other questions? Any feedback you guys can give me, because we're gonna submit this for next month, and I requested 5,000 in here. And that is, a lot of it has to do with the marketing and PR around it. And the idea is to include the downtown Clearwater as a success. Create good PR around downtown Clearwater. Show that businesses are growing out of downtown Clearwater and they're continuing to expand.
Would you consider presenting this in front of the Merchants Association to get their support
Of course.
and engage their involvement and interest?
Yeah, I think that was kind of my plan with the tent, was to hopefully have the merchants come down. I don't know the current status of the merchants. I haven't been to a meeting in a while, so I haven't had a need at this point, but I think the plan would be my idea with the DDB tent was to have all the merchants there, so of course I'd probably go to the Merchants Association. But yeah.
I'll let you know the date.
The date? Okay, good.
Anyone else have anything? Okay. Well,
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Natalie.
Great, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Is this something that is of interest to the Downtown Development Board? Because I could reorganize a lot of this. I mean, I don't know, not that I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I don't know if it'll happen on the scale that it could. And I think this is an event that could go more viral for downtown. So is this something that the downtown has an agenda for in the past, where you guys wanna have wellness events, or you're trying, because I know you've tried it in Station Square Park in the middle of the day, in the week.
Our last one was a Taste of Clearwater, and that was a fantastic success on a Friday at 5, so we caught everyone
Yeah.
before they left
Mhm.
downtown. And we had over 500 people there.
Okay, good. Was that yoga?
No,
centered?
no,
Okay.
but in terms of Station Square Park
Yeah,
downtown.
yeah.
Right.
Good.
I wish it would be Station Square instead of Goshen Park, because that bluff is is like an invisible wall. And logistically speaking, getting restaurants down there might take some convincing.
Okay, so something I could bring back to Jen is that the Station Square Park
Maybe we can
area
start
might be
off
better.
small, see if we can,
Well, it's a 25-year anniversary. She has tens of thousands of contacts with her Botanical Day Spa. So it's one of those things where we're trying to play off of each other there, and we're using UNation, which is the promotional company that I've used, which has about 400,000 or 500,000 followers in the Tampa Bay area. At this point, when I had Pier Street Market, it was about 100,000, so they've grown a lot. So the hope would be is that we're creating the signature event. I get worried that there's not going to be enough room if we're going to be going on the scale that is what we're trying to accomplish. But I understand where you are coming from as well, just so you know.
I would just have two comments for
Yeah.
you, Natalie. One is that for many years, the board has been less and less interested in Coachman Park events, because
Okay.
they don't seem to have a net result that benefits the downtown directly, the merchants of the downtown.
Okay.
Like the Jazz Festival, all of these signature events that draw, thousands and thousands of people, they don't actually, the return on investment from the board has not been there for us
Okay.
on events. So that's why Lena's saying, something on Cleveland Street is much more attractive to us. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of how that could work. That's all.
Not on the street.
Lots of people.
Not on the street, but
Yeah.
on Station Square or some location like that.
Okay.
And the other point is when we judge the value of an investment, we tend to look at the dollars per head.
Yeah.
And if we can get people to come out to an event for like $1 a head, it's way
Okay.
better than
I'd
$20 a
I'd
head.
love to say, oh yeah, I can get 5,000 people out, but I always like to err less
Yeah, but
personally
it-
because I've never thrown this kind of event before.
Yeah, we have
But I
to
know
be
that-
realistic, but we don't,
Yeah.
I don't know what the consensus of the other board members would be, but my own thing would be the return on investment to spend $15 or $20 to bring someone downtown who may or may not do anything downtown.
Yeah, I think that part of this is it's very much a PR kind of, my thought is a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, I loved the market, it was downtown, it was like one of the best things that was going on, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, great, that's awesome, let's do something like that with the yoga event, and possibly it could continue forward, and then the entire Imagine Clearwater is going to be occurring. So that's kind of where my thought was, that's why I kind of was willing to take this on, so that's where I want that kind of feedback, that really does help me, because I want to use this moment to just get as much as I can before we start submitting. And if you have any other comments, yeah.
I would like individually to see a little more skin in the game, not us covering a greater part of your budget, especially when we don't know what's going to happen.
Makes sense.
If you do it and it's successful, though, the next time you get a much better response.
I told that to Jen as well. So in this, I said, listen, you're gonna have to put some money in. It's gonna have to be, like, I didn't just put $5,000 and you're gonna give us $5,000. I put in $61.25. The marketing side is where there's the ability to go up and down. The rest of the numbers are fixed numbers, no matter what. This is outside of her budget. So I think the question would be is what kind of ratio do you like?
Well, more skin in the game.
More.
We're putting up, what, 80-some% of the,
About 80
you're so
to
excited about it, it would
Yeah.
behoove you to come in with a little more
So like a half or a third or
individually, just myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
like a half for,
We wouldn't like to risk that kind of money with
Yeah.
a big not knowing how successful it's going to be.
okay,
So it would be great to find out
what, yeah. Okay,
at a
good.
low cost.
I'll take that back. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay.
So, and I won't try and give like ideas in terms of your event or trying to change the structure, but one thing that would maybe address the concerns in terms of Station Square, depending on, because like you have a gift basket raffle, if part of it were to be located at Station Square, which would have an additional,
It's not a bad idea.
have like an additional expense, I'm sure in terms of permitting or otherwise.
Yeah.
Which is above my pay grade, but having, that would draw people where it's almost like using Coachman Park and the attendants there to say, oh, now make sure you go to Station Square to get whatever part of the event may be more intriguing, I think, because then it would also draw people perhaps to park more downtown and then walk up, maybe something that would.
You like that idea? Okay. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I noticed with the successful yoga events was they were located on a waterfront. So I was kind of noticing that as a kind of consistent point. So that was kind of where I thought with that. My dream is that Coachman Park and the whole Imagine Clearwater and downtown are like tied in. They're so close to each other as far as like you put money here and you see it returns. So anything I
That would
can
be
do.
ideal.
I
Yeah.
know. I wish you had a park right in the middle of downtown like you do in like Gilmore Girls or something, you know, where you have literally like, you know, it's like the old Connecticut types of, you probably have seen that, Paris.
Yeah,
all the
sure.
time.
I follow it closely. What it is. I'm assuming
Awesome.
it's a TV show.
It is, it's a TV show. It's a girly TV show. But they have this gazebo and a whole park that they host a lot of events in this park, but it is situated right downtown.
So
So,
downtown is actually an O.
Oh,
yeah.
It faces the park, so it's a great
Yeah.
point of that.
I know, it'd be great. We'll just have to rebuild downtown Clearwater, and then we can do that.
So I've watched the
Perfect.
show a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, does that
good.
give you some data?
That really helps. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll go back to the table and we'll see what we can put together. And I'll see if I can't work the budget. She's a small business, so I don't know how much money she's gonna be able to put in, but I really wanna do something special for all of us, including the DDB and the merchants, to use this as, you know, something to do that. So it's good to see you all.
Nice to see you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to address the board?
Hi, my name is Lisa Lanza, and this was perfect. You know,
Your
that-
address, please?
I don't give my address in public.
Then we're limited to take speakers who give their name and address.
No, that's real, I go to city council all the time, and hope this doesn't take up my 3 minutes, so turn off the clock, because first off, Amanda has my address. Secondly, in city
have the
council.
address?
I approached
that
Amanda
covered?
before
It
the,
has written cards before that we have on.
I approached
Okay.
Amanda before I got up here.
Okay, that's fine, that's
No,
fine. I just wanted to
wanna
make it
say
fair for everybody.
I did approach Amanda before I
Right.
came to the podium.
Okay.
I asked Amanda if I needed to fill out a card. She said
Okay.
no. She already
So,
had my address.
we're done with
But
that.
to
You
add,
can
no,
start your remarks
no,
'cause the
wait a
clock
minute.
is running.
The clock shouldn't be running because you just took my time away from
No,
me.
no, the clock starts.
No,
now
you,
because-
that is not why I came here to speak. You just took my
But
time away
begin
from me.
speaking on the topic you want to speak about. We're done talking about whether you have to give your
Amanda,
address.
don't start the clock till I start on my topic, please. Thank you. Well, that's completely wrong.
He's the chairman, he runs this meeting.
Well,
begin-
I'm supposed to have 3 minutes to speak on what I want to
And
speak
you're
about. This is
wasting it.
public comments.
You're wasting it.
You've wasted
Begin
it
your
for me.
topic.
Okay, I'm moving forward. Anyway, I was coming up here in a positive tone, which you've turned negative. However, I'll try to recoup my positive energy to say it's lovely to have some young women that are engaging in downtown. I've said to many people, if you look at Dunedin and you look at, say, other cities, the problem we've had in downtown is we've had, not to be demeaning, but older white men. We haven't had that feminine energy. We also haven't had that homosexuality energy, which in Dunedin, you know, you've got the homosexual community, you've got a lot of women. Yes, you have men, but what we had in the park before, the project that Natalie had, the Pierce Street, that was so popular. I had friends coming all the way from Dunedin and South Largo to go to that. And because of the way the city managed that, that went down by the wayside. The things that the guys have put in, like the Oktoberfest, and, you know, they've been pretty much a bust. But we the people have said that we wanted from day one, and I went to all the Imagine Clearwater meetings, the downtown waterfront development meetings is what I call them, which is more accurate. We said that's what we wanted in our park. We wanted in our waterfront park yoga classes, we wanted painting classes. And by the way, the reason you didn't get business downtown from some of the other events downtown is because the event you're holding downtown, which will include the amphitheater, you're having people in the park till 11 o'clock at night, drinking and eating, which includes the jazz festival. By the time they're ready to leave the park, they're ready to go home. We have said you should have things in the park at sunset, that's what we wanted, after sunset, people will come downtown, they will eat, they will drink, they will hang out. That's not what you guys have been doing. And it's wonderful to have some young feminine energy, and that's what we need in the city, and I hope you will support her and her friends. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's move on.
No, that's done.
Oh,
I was planning on that. I'm
And you-
Mr.
and-
Haluba.
and you are?
I'm Mr. Haluba. I'm no fan of Mr. Polglaze, and I'm certainly not a fan of Amanda Thompson.
Okay, can we have your name and address, please? Oh, you got it, okay, that's fine. We're just trying to be consistent with everyone, sir.
Well, it's not working very well, but, you know, what is working very well with this Downtown Development Board? It was established, what, back in the mid-'70s? I mean, are you people living in a bubble? You don't see it? I walked through downtown this morning to get a list of who was going to run for city council and mayor, and thank God Mr. Polglaze's name is not on there. He's all, downtown, let's do downtown, downtown's great, downtown's wonderful. No, it's not, it stinks. You could stand on a corner down there and give away $5 bills and you wouldn't draw a crowd. And that's your fault. Says, you know, in your own literature, create a world-renowned destination and place. I think that's happened, but in a very negative way. I think when you've got what you people call a stakeholder that owns 90% of downtown, anything you do only benefits that one stakeholder. The rest of us are just not going to participate. You want some proof? Look at the vacancies downtown. You know, I recently went to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, which, you know, look that up. Get on Google Earth and drive up and down that. I went to several cities in Mississippi. They got the same thing going on. It's not an unusual situation to have downtown be in decline. What's unusual is all you cheerleaders going, it's great, let's do this, let's spend money, let's give away $600,000 to the people that, you know, might set up a brewery. As I said before, that's never going to happen. If it does, hope they build a building, because when it fails, they can turn it into a homeless shelter. There's 3 reasons why downtown is not working. I've emailed you. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Ms. Thompson. $101,000 a year. I have called on the city manager and the assistant city manager to tear this apart and give her her severance package and send her down the road, because she's not doing a thing.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Any other citizen comments? Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, board members. I'm Bill Johnson, 2694 Redford Court in the Countryside area. I came thinking that I would share some comments about observations about some of our restaurants that are poised to open but haven't gotten opened. And I think that there's an opportunity to try to help them in the early phases of their opening to make sure that they have the right contractors that can help them with things like the hoods. I've talked to the fire chief about the exhaust systems and maybe pre-qualifying some of the buildings or something like that. I don't know what the solution is, but I think that that might be an opportunity to see things turning over a little faster. So I share that comment with you. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last call for citizen comments, anyone? Okay, thank you. We'll move on. New business items. We're looking for a motion to adopt the August 2019 financial statement for filing. Anyone?
So moved.
Good. Do we have a second? Very good. Any discussion? Let's call for a vote. All in favor?
Excuse me,
Oh, yes?
I didn't see, whether we got the cash position. Is it there? There we go.
Yeah. So, walking through our funds spent as of August 31st, $450,006. The transfers that were approved in August, and then, our new fiscal year has started, so next month, we'll have for you the amount that has rolled over, right, once we clear out, the end of this year. So remember, we're always lagging a month behind. So, and we're working with Monica Mitchell in finance to be able to get a current state to add to another column, right? So
Okay.
you know where we are in actuality at this moment.
Very good.
Thank you.
That's where we're at.
Thank you.
Okay, where was I? I think I was asking for any discussion on this.
Yes.
Okay, is there any discussion? Further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There being none, we move on. Okay, we're on item 4.2, and Ann Lopez, please take that for us.
Begin. All right. Ann Lopez, I am the CRA program specialist, and this year, since our dear Ann Fogarty-France left, I took over the DDB election for this year, and quite a process, quite a process. So I wanted to start off first by just showing you your boundary map. One thing that I did find throughout this whole process was I had quite a few people that would call or come into the office to ask about if they could vote. Majority of those people were outside the DDB boundaries, but this is just your boundary district map. So this is just a really quick overview of how the whole process went. It starts in August, goes from August to October. This is the timetable, the election timetable that I go for. And this year, on August 2nd, I requested all of the parcels within the DDB from the tax collector's office. And then the following week, any new parcels or any people who are not currently registered to vote in the DDB election received a voter registration form. Those were due back August 6th. That's what helps me to create the ballots and how many ballots we would need. Ballots were mailed out on the 16th of September, and they had about 3 weeks to get those into the supervisor of elections office, which were due yesterday at 12 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock, Thomas, Amanda, myself, and a member of the supervisor of elections office sat and counted ballots. And this is just an overview, another overview. There are a total of 916 parcels within the DDB. 129 of those are not eligible to vote because they're either owned by the city, the county, the CRA, or they had not paid taxes. So those were immediately taken out. From there, I compare what we currently have to what we had last year for registered voters, and then 463 of those were considered new or were not on file. Those got sent out. Of that 463, we received 53 back. 21 of them were returned to sender.
21 of the 53?
21 of the
Of the
463
Okay.
came back.
Okay.
And we have no way of knowing what their address is because it goes based on what they have listed with the tax collector's office with the county. So with that, we sent out 376 ballots. We technically received 10 back, returned to sender, but I actually had 3 people that called in to find out where their ballot was, and it was sitting on my desk, so they actually came into the office to pick them up. Yesterday, we counted 232 ballots that qualified, 18 ballots that did not qualify because their signatures did not match.
The signatures not only have to match the registration form, but if you have multiple property owners, they have to identify one person who can vote, right? So if you know, Amy's the designated voter, but Patrick sent in the form, that's disqualified.
And then these were the election results. Paris Morphopoulos with 146 votes for a 3-year term. Keenan Kinsel, 126 votes for a 3-year term. Shahab Enrani with 124 votes for a 1-year term. Festus Porbeni with 98 votes. Edmund Rakipi with 97 votes. And we had 3 write-ins of Taylor Precourt, Mike Sutton, and Adam Kapinski. That is it.
Very good,
Can I
thank
ask
you.
any questions?
Cool, Lena.
In the last week or so, I've had various conversations with people, and I felt like I was a walking billboard of guidance or education. And there's a lot of confusion in the general population. And I was wondering, for the next voting process, can we include an educational component? People are unclear as what the parameters are. Is it tenants? Is it parcel holders? And how come some have so many parcels? And even today, I was in an office building, and they told me they never received their ballots. So there's a lot of confusion. So I was wondering if next time we can allocate some funds and come up with maybe a educational kind of component, because there was so much confusion this time. Is that possible?
I think it's necessary. I mean, this is your decision, but I think as staff, I mean, I've been talking with you guys about changing the process for quite a while now, right? And now we're down to the ordinance and details of it. I mean, we have registration forms from a long, long time ago, right? Right now, our only trigger is the tax rolls, right? If there's a change there, then we have a change in the forms that we send out or update. Right, and that's not always going to be a comprehensive process. So I think we need to switch to an online process with unique identifier, right? Whether that's tied to the parcel or something else. So it does, if there's 3 property owners, any one of them can go in and vote, right? Because there's a unique identifier tied to the property. Certainly we need, we're working on building an email database, but we could certainly do a mailing, right, to every property owner and get that cleaned up. So I think it's really, what is the board's kind of desire and tolerance for the time and money that it'll take to bring this process into 2020?
Yeah.
I think we really need to do something to
Yeah.
get it closer to it. We should target like at least 75% of that 900 properties.
Yes.
Should be eligible to vote and actually participate.
It's a big disparity between 916 parcels, 376 ballots, only 232 received. And I think a lot of that is lost in a system that's archaic, like you said, and also lack of education. And we're not effectively educating the residents that we represent on what we do and how to be involved. A lot of people don't understand why and what we do.
I'm
So if we can
curious
have a
about-
little,
I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
but-
It's only the people, the taxpayers in the DDB that receive that line on their tax form for the DDB. That's correct,
That
right?
is correct. The 0.97 mil.
Right. So then it should be possible to insert, a little one-page fold-out thing just in those envelopes, because we already know that there's something special about those particular
Right,
forms.
partnering with the county office to do so.
That it says, you're in the DDB, these are your rights, this is how you vote, this is how you register.
Yep.
So we already have the mechanism to flag who those people are. It's a particular line in the database. So it shouldn't be that hard to do. We should do whatever it takes to get total participation by our payers. I think it's important.
Where is the map on the internet, that boundary map?
The map is on the DDB's portion of the CRA page on myclearwater.com.
And we can send out a link.
Yeah.
So how do we go forward with doing that? Should we have an agenda item to discuss it at a later meeting, or do we have enough for you to go forward? Do you need, we don't really have information to do a motion to fund something because we don't know what it might cost.
No, I think that we can, in November and, November and/or December, right? I think we can bring back to you a suggested process and some funding. And because right now, and speaking with our attorney, we've been looking at different processes, right? And trying to think through how best to handle this, but we're at the next step of needing to have conversation, either finding the software, right, the online platform, having conversations with the county departments, right, to get into the details of it. But I think this is enough direction for us to move forward with continuing to answer those questions and bring you guys something to consider.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, before we leave that topic, I just wanted to thank everyone who participated as candidates and also everyone who voted. Thank you all for your participation, and congratulations to the other two individuals that won.
Am I allowed to speak on that topic?
No.
Not voting on anything?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I just wanted to make one additional comment.
They don't vote to accept the vote?
No.
We're kind of tied to what the vote was. We don't get to vote again on it. Following the election, there was, of course, as expected, an article in the newspaper which had several quotes in it from various people. And I just wanted to set everyone's mind at ease. If anyone is concerned about what the board may do going forward, all they have to do is look at what the board has been doing for the last 25 years that there's been Scientologists on the board. So in my tenure alone, I've probably cast 700 votes. You can go back and search all of those, and if you find even one that's objectionable in some way, just let me know. But over 700 times I have voted what I thought was the best thing for the ratepayers of the downtown. Not for any other reason. So I just want you to know that. Okay, next we'll go to a discussion on the DDB meeting rules of procedure.
Yes, so what you have before you is very similar to version to the City Council's rule of procedure. So as the DDB is not used to having people come and speak. For better or for worse, there just hasn't been a lot of public comment. And what we realized as that started is that actually our bylaws, the DDB bylaws and ordinance do not speak to rules of conduct for a meeting. So what you have before you, but your ordinance allows you to adopt rules of conduct and bylaws. So what you're being asked to do tonight is to adopt some rules of conduct. So that outlines the duties and responsibilities of the chairman. I didn't go through and change it to chairperson, but it is inclusive of male and female. The order of business, how public comment is handled, how you handle breaks and recesses, that you use Robert's Rules of Order, and then further on rules of conduct, if someone is repeatedly interrupting the board or shouting or refusing to leave the podium, any of those kind of behaviors. So that is for your consideration tonight, and it has just one vote to adopt these. Again, they mirror City Council's rules of conduct so that we all know what to expect.
Can I clarify one thing?
Sure.
So the asking of the address, obviously there's some people who are opposed to that. Is that mandatory to have the name and address stated on public record? Is that something that we have to adhere to?
The City Council rules require, they have it written down, so they require you to fill out a comment card. I don't think it has to be written down. I don't know if state law requires you to state your address, but in mirroring what the City Council has done, we ask for that. But if you guys want to say fill out a comment card, you can fill out people can fill out a comment card.
What happens to that card afterwards?
I don't know.
If someone.
I'm not sure what the city clerk does with the
Yeah.
common cards.
See, if someone is reluctant to state their address for privacy or security reasons, and then that becomes a public record afterwards, then that would kind of,
Right,
be a
I mean,
problem.
I
I don't know.
really don't know what
how
is
can we
done with
determine,
them.
who can we ask to get an answer to
Yeah,
that
we
question?
can ask the city attorney or the city clerk and get clarification on that.
Because if it's not necessary to do that, then we could remove it as an
Right,
unnecessary
absolutely.
step.
If someone has, a security concern or privacy concern, I still want them to be heard. But if it's mandatory, then as long as it's written, and if that's something that we should know instead of,
I think
I want to be clear on that.
pardon me, I think the origin of that is, if you're gonna speak, you need to be a resident of the city of Clearwater.
Well, typically, it's used, and I always feel nervous speaking in front of an attorney, but typically it's used for standing purposes, right? So but that's more in land use and zoning cases, right? That that's where residency matters, right? And proximity to what's happening matters. For something like this, you might be a downtown business owner, but your residence isn't here, right? Or you might be a tenant in a building, but your residence isn't here. So that's why I don't know the answer about the address. I mean, and to be expedient and know we were doing something that was allowed, right? We mirrored what city council does. That doesn't mean that I don't know that means we have to find an address, and I can certainly find that out.
Sounds good.
And we could establish our own rule, could we not?
We could, as long as it complies with the law.
Right. I can't say 100% now if the law requires you to state an address. I don't know if it does or if it, obviously it doesn't prohibit it because we do it, right? But I don't know if it does require it. So I think that, for special districts, what the state requires, right, for open meetings and sunshine, right, is that, people have an opportunity to speak. Right, and then the local jurisdiction can put limits around that speech.
Can we get a determination for our next meeting?
Yes.
And then just take it then? Okay. Any other discussion on this?
Does the city council meeting, do they have security, police officers at the city council meetings?
They do.
Yes. I could say that. Yeah, I do.
May Susan speak on this?
No? Not at this point, not until we reach that point in the discussion.
Were you inquiring just for curiosity, or you were thinking of having one here?
I wasn't inquiring.
Oh.
I was
Oh, you-
inquiring, yeah, and I would be more comfortable if we had one here.
Hasn't been necessary for many, many years.
It might.
I can ask.
Yep.
I'm sure
They
there's
work 24/7.
I'm sure there's
so-
a downtown duty officer that could sit in for a couple
You know.
hours, yeah.
Maybe the bike patrol could patrol through.
Yes.
Or be close by.
Yeah.
We don't have a sergeant at arms, but
Mm-hmm.
there would be some comfort in that.
Today is Wednesday, so Sergio's off. But I think that's something we should consider, actually, as we face more controversial topics, and that we might need that.
Okay. Getting back to the discussion on the order of the rules for meetings, the rules of conduct. Anyone else have some comments or anything they want to suggest?
If I may, just two comments.
Mm-hmm.
This, I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think this includes anything about the address discussion that we were having. So depending on what the result of that research is, we may come back and amend this. So that's something I just would want to put out there. In terms of, I know our practice in the past has been only when a motion is pending or it's specifically public comment. Do we have member public comments? I don't know that this specifically says that. It just says can speak in support or oppositions of items before the DDB. So if we want to be very specific that it's only if there's a pending motion, then that may need to be included. Also, and this is something that probably Ms. Winters would need to clarify or confirm, but I don't know, it just says public comments, and I've seen that in other statute, or other rules of procedure as well. I don't know, that is limited to residents, whether it be work or personal residents within downtown or Clearwater in general. So I think any member of the public, I don't know whether or not any member of the public would be able to speak. So if that is a limitation, I don't even know if that's something that could be a limitation. So we may want clarification from Ms. Winters on that.
I would have one suggestion in, at the bottom of page 1 on paragraph 2, where if someone, if a group is present, I would suggest that we limit it to up to 2 additional people can give a minute to the speaker. But if they, and then just start over again. If there's like 5 people here, then, you know, the first one can speak for 5 minutes and the next 2 don't speak at all. And then the 4th person can speak again for their 3 minutes plus another minute for the 5th person. You follow?
Yeah.
Well, instead of saying 10 minutes, instead of bringing in a Boy Scout troop and speaking at length for 10 minutes, that we limit each speaker to 5 minutes at the most, even if other people volunteer their time. So that if 3 people come in, the maximum that the first speaker can speak for is 5 minutes if they give them their time.
What is it now? Isn't it 10?
Well,
But they
in
have
here
to be
it's proposed
deferred
as
from
10.
somebody, right?
Well, if there were 3 people in a group now, they could speak for 5 minutes.
Right. But if 6 people came in, the first speaker could speak for 9 minutes, right?
Correct.
Instead of them. What I'm
Correct.
proposing instead is that we limit the maximum that anyone can speak to 5 minutes, using up, say, 2 additional people's time, and then another member of that group can also speak.
I'm not sure what the purpose of that is.
Well, so don't get somebody up there for 10 minutes just going on and on about whatever they want to talk about.
Well, if they're limited to 3 minutes, how would they get to 10?
Because if they brought 10 people in with them, they'd each give them a minute of their time,
And 3 minutes up to 60 minutes total.
up to 10 minutes.
I mean, I think if you don't want people to use each other's time, then you should just take out the group rule.
Yeah.
If that's,
Yeah, I think I'm trying to follow what the city council does to some degree, which they allow someone to speak using some other person's time to some degree. Is that correct? Jay would know that, yeah.
right.
They can
How does it work?
allocate there, but I'm not sure it's a full 3 minutes.
Mhm.
No, it's 1 minute.
1 minute of,
They can, and what's the total?
Up to 10 minutes
Yeah.
total.
That's how city council does. And then they limit a group discussion in its entirety. I don't know that we do a full hour.
Right, then there's, no, I mean, you guys,
I've seen them.
you could limit public comment in total on a particular issue to 1 hour,
Yeah.
unless you decide to extend it.
anyway, my proposal is to change the maximum of 10 minutes to just say maximum of 5 minutes. What does everybody think about that?
I see both sides. I could see where the issues is when they want to say something or when they want to talk about something that's, you know, complicated, and 3 minutes or 5 minutes can be short, but then again, you don't want to hear someone just disparaging people for 10 minutes either. I can
Because
see both
another
sides.
person can also get up from the same group and then speak for a further 5 minutes if they have 2 supporters too. But I would just like to limit diatribes to 5 minutes because that's about all I can take.
So are we going to vote?
I mean,
What do
my,
you think?
my personal opinion on that would I've not seen that abused as of yet. If it becomes a process that is abused, then I think we would revisit at that point. But I think it also, if something becomes disruptive, the chairperson has the right under Rule 5 to limit it, I think at that point. But I personally would rather keep it at the 10 minutes, because if something's important to that number of people that you have to get together, then I personally would be in favor of allowing it to stay.
Yeah. Up till now, whenever somebody's come up with the 3-limit rule and they were saying something important or that generated a lot of questions, we've had no problem extending how much time they talked. It has not been an issue
Yeah.
to have it go the other way. And that might give us a little more flexibility in how to handle incidents. So anyway,
I think this requires a little more homework. And if we're gonna get council to weigh in on this, let's push this to the next meeting for approval anyway.
I don't know, what additional thing do we need from council that we're going to wait
Oh,
for?
council wouldn't have to approve this.
This stuff has nothing to do
No,
with
I
council.
don't mean city council, I mean our attorney.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So maybe we can pass this all at one time, find out, who can speak, and, what information they have to provide, and pass this at, the next meeting.
Mhm. You can do that. Is that what we want to do? Okay.
So I think that you need to allow for comment, and then I would need a motion to table until the next meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move we table this till the next meeting.
Okay, first, I will invite public comment limited to 3 minutes to this topic. Does anyone want to address this topic? Okay. There being none, your motion is on the table. Do we have a second?
I think this gentleman has an interest in, did you want to speak on this?
I asked him if he did.
Yes, please. Specifically, I just wanted to make sure that if you're going by the rules of the city council, I think those rules are fine and fair. I would just like to make sure that people aren't shut down for contents of what they're saying. If Mr. Morphopoulos doesn't allow me to go into a store, he has that right, but I want to make sure that he doesn't have the right to
You need to limit your
stop.
comments to the topic we're discussing. These little asides are unnecessary and will get you shut down, so stick to the topic.
All right. So as I was saying, if they don't try to shut down what you're trying to say, then it's fine with me.
Thank you. Okay, so do we have a second? He made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're putting it off till next meeting. Okay, next thing. DDB work plan updates. Amanda, please.
Oh, I don't know why it went to sleep there.
That is the gentleman who's recording over at the studio. Here we go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
All right, Rosemary Demore is going to give us an update on our video projects.
Hi, Rosemary.
Rosemary Demore, PR and Programs Manager for the CRA. So we have 2 video projects that the DDB is working on. The first is a professional video campaign that's highlighting the unique assets of downtown Clearwater and showcasing the area as the next great destination to live, work, and play. We are kicking off the RFQ process with that. That needs to be reviewed through the city's legal and purchasing team. And then I've already had a few good conversations with folks that will solicit for quotes. We need to get 5 quotes in, and then we can make the decision from there. I'll submit those quotes to you all for approval before we choose the final group of folks we want to work with. And then they can begin their process of putting a video campaign together. The second project is on a viral video campaign. We've partnered with the Clearwater Arts Alliance to administer this. So we're looking for short films shot in, around, and about downtown Clearwater. Submissions must be short films, up to 60 seconds, and should feature the unique sights, sounds, and locations of downtown. These films should feature authentic, uncommon, and inventive perspectives, and we encourage people to use cell phones or to use uncommon ways to capture this. Entries will be judged by a panel of filmmakers, artists, and community members and downtown business owners. And there are 2 benefits for those who enter. The highest scoring entries will be used in an upcoming social media campaign. And then cash prizes will also be awarded for the top 3 contestants. $2,000 for first place, $1,500 for second place, and $750 for third place. The deadline to submit these videos is October 21st, and folks interested can head to clearwaterartsalliance.org to submit their entry, and we'll be announcing the winners the first week in November. So those are our updates on video projects. If anybody has any questions, happy to answer.
So the October 21st deadline is for the public, not
Yes.
the professional?
Yes, for the
Okay.
public video campaign.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any questions?
Are you aware of the party where we're gonna announce?
Yes, sorry, yes, so we would have a public community event around the winners, a winners announcement, which would be the first week in November, and we'll have details on that we can send to you all. And we have a conference call with the Clearwater Arts Alliance to see where we are in submission process happening this Friday, so I'll have more updates on that and can send that around to you guys to let you know what the submission process has been so far.
And I think whatever they posted on Facebook or Instagram, forward, tag, share, for those of you who do those things.
Rosemary, how are we getting the word out to the public for the October 21st submissions?
So that has gone through a variety of channels through Clearwater Arts Alliance and through us. It's gone through our email newsletter, posted on social media, and then we've also done like direct targeting for individual groups to spread to their networks. We've targeted colleges, high schools. We think that we can get a lot of young folks to participate in this. And the Clearwater Arts Alliance has a really tremendous following of folks, thousands of people who subscribe to their email, and they've gotten a fairly good response so far. I'm not sure on the exact submission count, but I know that they've definitely gotten responses from folks who are interested in participating.
Great.
Very good.
Can you go ahead and update on the AR?
Okay, so we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about augmented reality right now. So just a reminder on the augmented reality project, the DDB allocated $25,000 for augmented reality installation in downtown Clearwater. We have partnered with USF's Access 3D Lab to do an augmented reality installation on the Comunidad mural on the Garden Avenue garage. The project's going to include a digital 3D scan of Comunidad mural, and 2 interactive features, audio, educational slides, and an AR enhanced map of the Comunidad mural and the surrounding area, VR video content and text interactivity, user interaction data collection, which is really important because we'll be able to see who's using this app once they download it, where they're from, and what they're doing when they're on the app, so we can kind of target things a little bit more based on that information that we get. And then I think a really important component of this is the educational outreach that we're going to do around this. So we're already producing brochures and other materials that we can use to educate folks on what mixed reality is, why it's important, why it's cool, why it's something that they should come and check out in downtown. And USF's Access 3D Lab is committed to engaging the community with us on this. So we'll have a number of events throughout the course of the next 6 months or so, as also kind of in-person meeting points where people can learn more about the project. And in the past month, we've met with USF's Access 3D Lab to storyboard some of the augmented reality elements to the project, and they have some really cool ideas. So we're excited to see what they're going to produce. They've already done the 3D scan of the mural. I was out there all day on a Saturday in August, which that was fun. It's very hot. And we're building out a communications plan and have the website, the web link for this project going up on downtownclearwater.com within the next week. So we'll send that around to you folks once it's live, so you'll be able to check out what it looks like. So, yeah.
And our logo will spin on the new kiosk signs too, right? Or is that something that we talked about with them?
So as part of the Art and Technology Showcase in June of this past summer, USF's Access 3D Lab created, I keep mentioning their full name, like I'm giving them, like they're giving them product placement, but they are, so they created an augmented reality interactivity around the Downtown Clearwater logo. So when you hold your phone up to that logo, when you have this app, you hold your phone up and then it actually interacts with you. It spins around and then explodes and says coming in spring of 2020, augmented reality coming to Downtown Clearwater. So that will actually work on any logo for Downtown Clearwater if you have this app, and I can send you the instructions on downloading that as well.
So now if you walk by the kiosk and you've seen the new maps and signage in there, if you have that app and you hold it up, it'll spin. Right? So I think just what's really exciting about AR and building out this platform is all the connections that we can make with the businesses and the partners, and that literally it can be used on anything that we're seeing out in space, right? Whatever it may be. So it's a really fun way, right, to kind of bring our streets and our art and posters to life.
And this is also a first for the region, so this is a really cool project for us to be first on, and we're really excited to roll this out. Any questions?
I just wanted to say that that app that you're talking about, that is the wave of the future. I mean, even wine bottles that I'm receiving, you tap the wine and it actually goes on your phone and it teaches you about the wine so this is definitely on the right direction that we should be doing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anyone else?
You tap the wine, you tap the bottle, and it's like, ooh, this is from this region, and it's ripe and full-bodied, and blah, blah, blah.
How does it know?
Because there's a magnet or some kind of thing on the top of each bottle.
So you can target it to an image or you can target it to a location.
Okay.
So something like Pokemon Go, those are targeted to a specific location out in the world, right? So you walk out there and you go to the street corner, and if you are connected to the app on your phone, it'll pop up when you walk past it. It's the same with the mural. So the mural program is a stagnant place, so it'll be connected to that area. With the wine bottle, it's connected to the image. So then it interacts based on the image.
It's not really magic.
It
Just
seems
looks
like
like
it's
it.
magic.
It's coding.
Looks like
It kind of sounds like the thermos to me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you, Rosemary.
Right, so I do not have any progress to report on partnering with educational institutions or the special events process, but we still have 3 more months, so don't give up yet. We're going to get there. And I sent out a red line version of the ordinance today. So my question to you is, if you take the next 2 weeks to kind of read through and look at it, for our next steps as a group, is this something that we want to discuss as a group? Is there a smaller few of you that would like to meet and go into more detail and then bring recommendations back to the larger body? Do you just want to read it and email back comments if you have any?
Yes.
For a smaller group to get together, we would still need to have notice. and-
If there's more than one of you, we have to advertise.
Yeah. Maybe email is
Yeah.
the simplest process then.
Yeah.
Great, so you've got 2 weeks to peruse at your leisure and email back comments. Simultaneously, we'll be working with the city attorney and we'll be getting more information. There will be changes, I hope, right, to the elections process, right, that'll allow for electronic means and everything that we discussed earlier. So we know we're still working on that part of it. And then we're essentially proposing this, right, to city council to adopt. So I'm working in parallel with the city attorney's office to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Okay? That's it for our work plan.
Okay, then we'll move on to the chairman's report. 6.1 is we have Our Perspectives, Our Cultures, Our Community exhibit at Second Century Studios through October the 27th. And we also have the Town Hall discussion at Second Century Studios on October 11th. It doesn't have a time for that. Do we know when that is? 5:30 to 8 p.m. Okay. And then the Hispanic Heritage Concert is at Coachman Park on October the 13th. Clearwater Jazz Holiday. This must be, I don't know which one this is, like the 40th, 45th? 40th? Coachman Park, October 17th to the 20th. And then we have, again, Our Perspective, Our Cultures, Our Community, and Artist Demonstration at Second Century Studios on October the 19th. Then we have the Three Bridges Race at Coachman Park, October the 26th. And information on these is available at downtownclearwater.com. So now we'll move on to board members to be heard. On my left.
I feel that everything's setting up for 2020 to be a great year with the downtown events and the amphitheater coming in. I'm very excited about next year.
I'm a little bit frustrated, to be honest with you. I'm a proponent of expressing opinions and definitely critiquing or discussing new ideas and stuff like that. But what I'm hearing in the last couple of days frustrates me because there's all this disappointment, frustration, and anger. And no one knows better than I how challenging downtown is. I'm there every day, every night, and I see it firsthand. What frustrates me is that there's these expressions of unhappiness, there's all these issues being brought up, and everybody gets riled up, and then it stops there. That's what frustrates me. Where's the action? Where's the commitment? Be part of the solution. Downtown is a challenging downtown. So I opened up a wine bar. I moved down here. I want to see action, not just words. I can't do it alone, and the merchants can't do it alone, and the residents can't do it alone. So if we all care about this area, I want to see actions. Volunteer. Visit. Go to the restaurants. Go to the, it's just so frustrating. Sometimes I feel alone. And I want people to join the cause, not just talk about it. So I'm imploring everybody to pitch in. Be part of the solution. That's it. I'm off my soapbox.
Well said. Thomas?
My comment's going to be brief. I think the amount of public comment that we've had in the last couple of meetings is good. It's healthy, and it's welcome. I think it's productive if it relates to Downtown Development Board business. I think personal attacks are outrageous. I think if you're going to attack a religion, do it somewhere else. This is not the forum for that. This is a forum for promoting downtown Clearwater as a place to live, work, and play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Venkat?
I want to see the restaurants and bars and breweries to come back to Clearwater downtown. I told it last time, the coffee shop opposite my office is closed. The Mexican restaurant opposite my office is closed. There used to be a European restaurant, I think it was called Rido's. It was closed like 2 years ago, I guess. 2 years or 1.5 years ago. So I think as a board, we should again revisit any incentive plans for bringing the restaurants back and concentrate on the 400 and 500 and 600 blocks of Cleveland. That's all.
Caitlin?
I'll echo Lena's comments in terms of I welcome solutions. I appreciate when people express frustration, and I welcome then the next step of here's ideas. I think that's fantastic. One of those solutions, or two of those, are the projects that Rosemary was reporting on, which I'm very excited about, and I'm very hopeful we'll see some progress with. That's it.
Very good. Jay?
Thank you, Paris. Usually don't have final comments, but tonight sort of motivated me because, yeah, there's personal attacks. It comes with the turf. That's okay. But as I see it, having been involved and dedicated 15 years of my life to try to re-energize downtown, and it's not all the church's fault. It's not all Scientology, or there's equal parties to blame. Downtown's migrated. They went out to suburbia. They went to the malls. Now you're seeing a resurgence of downtown's coming back. People want that urban environment. So yes, we have a lot of challenges in downtown. Partly is our government process. We've got different problems what we've been trying to work through to get through. But here's what the challenge is for boards like this, for the city council, for the Merchants Association, is, and you have to stay the course, because the opponents will have you abandon downtown. They have totally given up. They've abandoned downtown. They would have the county seat move. Everybody should leave. The problem is, my 15 years, all of you have several years here, we've not given up on downtown. We've tried different strategies. We've created Blast Friday. We created the Beer Fest. We created these events. People will come downtown if there are interesting, diverse set of activities to go through. The whole idea of Imagine Clearwater was to be the spark plug, to be able to create a market where private investment can come help everybody's efforts. Everybody's that it's involved in downtown. If we create a great waterfront bluff, and we don't have that much of it, the private market hopefully will be motivated to come and invest in downtown. The active edge is Osceola. We would like to motivate not only private development, but individual private property owners, whether they are parishioners of the church or Peace Memorial, I don't care who they belong to. We need help because many proponents have not given up yet. I'll tell you, I'm getting tired. 15 years, I've put more sweat equity into this downtown, running up and down streets, humping bike racks to make something happen here. And to be attacked like this, yeah, people get tired. But fortunately, there's a new city council coming forward. And I know I'm going to get a call from the St. Pete Times saying, well, what do you think? You have a total majority of Scientology running a board. Well, here's what I would suggest. That, to me, it shows that citizens, whether they work downtown, live downtown, or are property owners downtown, regardless of race, religion, age, or gender, there are more people that aren't willing to give up yet. And as long as those property owners in the DDB specifically are willing to pay an incremental special tax to keep investing and keep trying for the good of all citizens to have a great downtown, because we have something unique here that nobody else does. And for the opponents, I've heard Salt Lake City comparisons. Well, the Mormon church is the majority presence in that downtown, yet they're successful and all citizens have a great downtown to go to. I still hold out and have a belief whether, and I'm not a Scientologist, and I have issues like everybody else does, but I have issues with my own church. You have to get past that. If you still believe that there's an opportunity for downtown to be a great destination for every citizen, this is America, you can say what you want, but it would be much better if you were part of the solution, come up with positive comments. If you want to just abandon downtown, the rest of us aren't ready to do that yet. But this is America, you're entitled to say what you want. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to take a few minutes. I hope you'll be patient with me, but twice now, Mr. Bunker has come to this meeting, and you'll notice I did not seek him out. He came and sought me out, and he has twice now tried to harass and intimidate. After the first meeting, which he was trying to encourage people not to vote for me on the basis of my religion. Okay, that's bigotry. That's bigotry, nothing else. Since that time, I've been subjected to a campaign on social media of harassment, intimidation, and unpleasant communications. I'm not interested in having any more of it. Now, I think that following your comments today again about our history goes back a long way, I think it's fair for me to take a couple minutes to give you some information on what that history actually is. Okay? Mr. Bunker is posing as a concerned citizen, trying to alert the citizenry to the perils of Scientology. However, you need to know a little bit more about Mr. Bunker before you venture into his camp and lend him your support. He has for over 20 years done what he can to harm the church and to intimidate, harass, and drive off the Scientologists who, in his opinion, infest the downtown. He's planning to run for city council. His only apparent platform plank is his intention to stifle and contain Scientology and Scientologists. On the face of it, a purely bigoted and intolerant approach. If you would, for a moment, take any of his written or public comments and substitute the word Jew for Scientologist, then it would become very clear to you what we're talking about. The level of bigotry we haven't seen since the brown shirts wandered around Germany in the 20s. Almost 100 years ago, in Germany, an ideologue named Adolf ran for public office, warning about the threat posed by the Jews to their communities and urging that something be done about them. We all know how that turned out. If Mr. Bunker has any achievements or successes in his life, I'm unaware of them. I know little of the career of this man over the years, other than the years that he spent attacking Scientology as a professional bigot. The only regular paid employment that I'm aware of in the last 25 years. There might be, but I'm not aware of it.
Any winning journals?
Back in the late 90s, Mr. Bunker was a paid demonstrator of the anti-Scientology group funded by Robert Minton. A lot of you were not here then, so I'll spend a couple of minutes on that. Mr. Minton had been seduced and co-opted by an anti-Scientologist woman who not only ruined his marriage of many years, but convinced him to spend millions of dollars to fund a campaign against Scientology in Clearwater. He eventually discovered that he'd been duped. He ended up testifying against his former collaborators, who had been suing the church for millions of dollars in a phony case so they could financially benefit. However, for a number of years, Mr. Bunker dutifully and eagerly demonstrated against the church regularly, never missed an opportunity to harass and intimidate individual Scientologists. How do I know this? I was there. I was one of them. Purely to harass, he would walk up to the front of my store windows, place his video camera against the glass, and videotape me or my staff or my customers, and take video footage and then presumably to post it on the internet or something like that. We were just going about our business. What was the purpose of this other than to harass or intimidate? Then he would follow Scientologists like myself around downtown, videotaping while making goading comments in hope of getting better footage. I learned that footage of myself was being regularly posted on the internet in an effort to discredit me. It's still there. He's still emailing it around today. But Mr. Bunker did not limit himself to following adults. He also stalked the minor children of Scientologists, which seems a bit like a bridge too far, doesn't it? Following them around downtown and videotaping them in an effort to intimidate them. How do I know this? My daughter was one of them. On at least 2 occasions, you did that. This greatly upset her. It angered me. You have to understand that Mr. Bunker was not an ex-Scientologist with some supposed grievance. He had no motive at all that I'm aware of other than money. I think he chose the profession of professional bigot because it paid better than his earlier gig, and perhaps because it offered him a way to bully others and feed a small ego. He made his living by discriminating against Scientologists, and he had the gall to file a complaint against me with the Human Rights Commission. He actually took me to court in the Human Rights Commission for religious discrimination. Well, it took about 5 minutes to dismiss that case when I appeared before the commissioner and I explained to him that I'd not discriminated against Mr. Bunker on the basis of his religion, whatever that might be, but purely because of his resemblance to a particular human orifice. Apologies to anyone that's offended. As Jews in Germany had a right to a place to live without persecution and harassment, so do Scientologists in Clearwater. I urge the public not to listen to the hateful propaganda of Mr. Bunker, the Times, the other agents of hate that spew this constant litany of garbage about me and my fellow Scientologists. We have a right to be here. We are contributing members of this community. We pay our taxes. We volunteer. We contribute significantly to our local economy. We don't do drugs. We don't commit crimes. We harm no one. We are people of goodwill. We've chosen Clearwater as our home. We're not going anywhere. Allow us and help us to make Clearwater the bright and sparkling jewel of Tampa Bay, and don't pay attention to fools and bigots. Thank you. With that, I call this meeting adjourned.